Okay.
Mothers Against Mcginty, Part 9. On the phone, I have right now an anonymous mother, and mom is very upset as usual. But can you kind of give us a quick backstory? You have had all four judges in family court in Ulster County. You
Judge
had
Lawler, Judge was the one after Mcginty, the first person, and it was
Mcginty,
Mizell who
Mizell.
recused herself.
Mizell recused herself. When did you get Mcginty? What year did you get Mcginty? Anthony Mcginty.
Oh, God. I'd have to look up for you. I felt like I was in court for like 8 years. Pretty much my son's whole entire life I was in court.
Yeah.
I mean, his whole childhood. I had to be like 6 years.
And when you entered Mcginty's room,
14.
were you a victim of domestic violence?
Yes, that's why I lost my kid, because I was a victim of domestic violence. My son went to school and said, quote, Josh choked me, and I won't say who Josh is, but Josh happens to be my daughter's father. I won't say the last name because you'll recognize it because his mom's a politician. Okay.
His mom is a politician. Go ahead.
Yes. And I went in, as soon as they told me CPS was the first interaction, I'd never had an interaction with CPS. I was out of there in 24 hours. I had everything backed up, left. Matthew would just stay with his father. Me and my daughter left, and we never went back. I've never dated this person again for 13 years. He's still been bothering me. But the reason Judge Mcginty decided is going to severely reduce my time with my son was because I said I love you at a baseball game. And I didn't say we record everything. By the way, I would
say... Hold on, let's go back. You said I love you to your child at a baseball game.
Well, no, that's what they accused me of saying, Amy Ingram, too. Did I yell at...
Hold on, let's go back to Amy Ingram. Let's talk about her, too. So your child's attorney was Amy Ingram, the one that lies to the court. Every case I've ever helped as an advocate, and she's also was appointed to my son, she has lied about every single child's wishes, and she does not ever tell...
My son admits that she said to him that he had to pick one.
That he had to pick one.
Pick one. He's 16 years old now. Yep.
So now your son, you know that your son can go under oath with a notary, and he could put a statement. And you
have no idea how much I've been trying. He's so crippled by the family court because they took his mother, and they had to lie against her. And you don't understand.
So your son was 8. He was 8 years old. So this is 8 years of suffering. 8 further years of suffering.
Well, no, we started at 6 years old, and we went through 4 judges, and because each judge did not look back at the other ones, they just kept reducing my time. They kept thinking, no, she must be here for abuse. She must be here for neglect. Never once thinking
that you were the victim.
You were here because you got abused and you moved out.
Now let's talk about the record of the person that abused you. Was there a record sent, like in other words, a criminal?
Oh my God, unlawful imprisonment, this, that, whatever. You have no idea.
And you have
never in front of my son, by the way. But still, I lost my son for that reason. And then they kept changing the reason. And then it's like, I keep petitioning. The more I petitioned, the harder they go at me. And I'm like, listen, I left within 24 hours. They even wrote in CPS, the full article. They said, father is seeking custody.
Let's talk about the father. Let's talk about your child's actual father that he's been with for how many years now?
He was 6 years old now.
What is
10 years, and he breaks things. He can't have computers, can't have phones. He lives in violent drug environment. You have no idea.
Yeah, so he has a very bad background too, which is normal when you're abused. It's very, very typical to continue to keep choosing abusers. But the judge, Anthony Mcginty,
the original abuser was Josh.
I understand. I understand that.
Father.
I understand that.
And my daughter's father has continued to abuse me since, I kid you not, since last year.
And you have custody. You have custody. I'm sorry.
He has full custody of her now.
Okay.
He just got it because his mother is a legislator, and she's really friendly with Chief Sinagra of the Saugerties Police Department. They got together.
There's Saugerties again.
They didn't investigate anything. They just literally, he came, picked my daughter up, meaning my ex. She ran into his car. I was so confused, Francesca.
Mm-hmm.
I literally scolded her because I was locked outside for 25 minutes in an appropriate, normal mother way.
Right.
I do this because my daughter broke her back in November. And I'm like very scared to kind of trigger her because she gets very PTSD. Like I got her
right, of course,
clinical psychologist. I got myself a therapist. I did all the right things that moms are supposed to do.
Right.
When we were in the middle of the lawsuit, everything, because I was like, I can't afford to pay for all this therapy,
Yes.
Scared to death. Well, I think her father probably planned it. He's been so upset since 2007 when he got the lawful imprisonment charges and I got custody of her and everything. I never wanted to go back to that court because of what I went through with my son and all that stuff because of Josh. And, you know, didn't get the power, but forget it once they get the power. You know what I mean? They're narcissistic.
Do you know, can I ask you a question? This is another Jane Doe, but can I ask you another question? I want to talk about Amy Ingram in a minute, but I want to talk about Mcginty, and I want to talk about the fact that Josh is related to one of the legislators in Ulster County, and also we know that we're seeing that all these
I was
testimonies,
supposed to get a special prosecutor like he did last year.
all these testimonies.
Last year they gave him a special prosecutor.
Wow, a special prosecutor. All these interviews that I'm doing that have
They
related.
gave him a special prosecutor because of who his mother was, but they will not give one to me because, yeah, he smashed my iPhone, kicked me, tried to forcibly sexually touch me. Last year, Francesca, I've been with this person for over a decade.
Wow. Well,
that's the length of abuse. And he goes, so now what is he doing? He's domestic violence by proxy.
That's right.
Me.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, all the interviews.
My child.
All the interviews that I'm doing, and I understand your heart and your pain right now very, very well. And I know that by going back into the family court over and over again, it is the most traumatizing and triggering thing. And the only reason we go.
That's why I never ever called on him. I never ever called on him. I always tried to make peace. Francesca, I invited him over to stay at the house during coronavirus with Charlie, with his girlfriend, and I went to my boyfriend so they could spend time. I have gone to lengths that people never would go to.
We all have.
He would go through my private things. And I would dance with the devil himself just to, you know.
We all have. We've all gone.
And never have to walk in there again.
As victims, we all have gone above and beyond with these perpetrators because the courts don't give us any protection, especially Mcginty with his pattern of abuse. His pattern of abuse against women and children, and every single case for 14 years. I have 14 years worth of mothers and children in these interviews in this playlist that will go public and will be exposed. And for 14 years, he's been giving children to the perpetrators. And he's been taking the mothers out of the lives of the children or giving them limited time or repunishing victims, literally repunishing victims. And most of us don't want to go back in there. The only reason we go is for two reasons. He threatens us with jail or he threatens to take away our children or both. So that's the only reason we go.
So the new one threatened to take the new one, and since she's in politics,
yes,
Mom, he's leveraged himself. So what he's done is aggressively cop called. Next thing you know, I'm being arrested. I don't even know why.
Every single last mother's been arrested for no reason.
They never interviewed me. They never came here and did an investigation. Nothing. And
so
the next thing I know, I'm getting this article in the paper that sounds like attempted murder. Just 2 misdemeanor crimes endangering the welfare of my child and harassment. I said, excuse me, I was trying to get into the house. My oven was billowing smoke. I locked myself out on the back porch, which has no stairs, and it's on the second level, where I have a grill. And I took the chicken out really quick because it was like billowing smoke. I never turned the oven off. Took it out. It was really hot, and I just threw it. And I turned around, to go back inside, and I locked myself out. So I had to climb over the partition, have my neighbor let me in. I'm banging on the door, Charlie, let me in, Charlie, let me in. And my daughter, whatever. I'm trying to blank out the name if I can. And not that it matters, they printed my name, my address,
that's what they do.
Everything in the paper. No one ever thought to themselves, wait a second. If a mom was choking and slamming a child's head, by the way, if you slam my child's head even slightly, she has a seizure. She has a seizure disorder. So when she was little, her brother, or what they would play fight, like, and he would just be like playing with her. And one time she fell on her head on the rug, and I guess 3 other times with the other family. It happened too. I've only seen it happen once.
Yeah, that's a vaccine injury. It's a vaccine injury, but go ahead.
So we're trying to figure out what the hell's wrong with it. So we took her to a neurologist. They didn't find anything wrong. So I've been a freak about her head for my whole life. I've been like, Charlie, I will put a helmet on you. I mean, you can ask the school.
Yes.
The school has called me since she's had her 3 times. And they're doing it because they want me to know what's going on. Because they like me. They know I'm the one involved. Not only is she failing every subject, my daughter has never failed any subject. Her hair's dyed completely black, number 1. If that doesn't tell you,
so now she's failing everything in his care?
Failing everything, and she specifically said, Dad won't help me with anything. I told Ruth,
I know how heartbreaking
it is. CPS, and what does she do? Ruth goes and tells Josh and gets her a tutor, which is fine. I want to help her. I want to help my daughter. I want her to do good. But everything I was telling Ruth, she was like leveraging my ex.
Yeah.
Instead of punishing him and saying, listen, you're neglecting.
That's
so
what
I have
they
two
do.
cases of which could have been easily medical neglect. He got rid of that. It took me 6 months to find out, O'Connor.
I know how hard it is.
He wanted to help me forever.
They're very, because of family court doing all this negligence, the psychologists are very backed up with appointments. So they really put you between a rock and a hard place.
I couldn't find anyone. This woman was
Here's the other issue.
She really got it.
Here's the other issue. Let me just hold on. Hold on.
Josh right away.
Hold on. Hold on 1 second, because this is important. I don't want to forget my train of thought of what I need to ask you for the record for these calls, okay, for these broadcasts. Number one, the Committee on Judicial Conduct, which is a waste of time, the Unified Court System, and then the Child Attorney Disciplinary Board will not take these cases until you're done. Players like Ingram, who lies, and the rest of them, they manipulate the lower court. So they hide the evidence. So even when you go to the appellate level, they've hidden the evidence. They don't allow testimony. They don't allow the proper witnesses on the stand, so that it all goes in favor. Hold that thought. I'm not. Okay, there it goes. So talk about Amy Ingram. What is some of the things that she's done?
Well, the first thing, one of the things that always sticks out when I think about that trial is I think of her going, say my name's Sarah. Do you think, let's say my son's name is Bob. Do you think Bob loves you? And everything just got really quiet. And I looked at her and went, I know my son loves me.
She asked you on the stand if your son loves you.
Yep.
She's a devil.
That was her first question.
She's a demon.
That was the first question. And it derailed me. I couldn't believe the pain.
Because she's a sick manipulator. She has no children, and I wouldn't want to put any children in her care.
She told him he had to pick one. I had to pick one, and I could see both. But I had to go with one. I had to kind of go against one. He wasn't in court to see what they did to me.
Do you know who he picked?
The Lincoln hearing.
Do you know who he picked?
She told him to say stuff about me.
Do you know who he picked? Do you know who he picked?
Who was what?
Do you know who your child picked?
My son, his father, who he was told to.
Because he was told to, which is what we have.
Danny's side. Danny had the paid lawyer. Danny had you have no
Now
idea.
hang on, Jane Doe. So here's some of the things, because I've seen the paper trail, I've seen the documentations, I've seen all the documentations of all the actual criminal convictions of all these people that we're talking about specifically. And in every single case, and with the children that have talked to me that are of age, they've each said that they were forced, and even therapists have this documented too, they were forced by their abusive fathers and threatened, and they've been threatened and that they must say the father.
You know what he said in a Woodstock interview, because we family Woodstock, they were great, by the way. They supervised visited us. I remember the woman going, I can't believe you have supervised visits. She said I'm not supposed to say that out loud, but this is ridiculous.
Yes.
This is a waste of our time, she goes.
Yes, they do that.
This is not an abuse case. They can say it right away.
Right, I know. They've done that. He's done the supervised visits. Mcginty's done the supervised visits with every single innocent mother, and not a single one of them have anything that reaches the standard for New York State to have supervised visits in the first place.
I know.
All right, he does everything.
And he is the one who did it. He is the one.
And he's the one that did it.
He's the one who literally. Now, if another judge sees that you've had supervised visits one Saturday, 1 hour a year, the other parent maybe shows up, maybe doesn't. To the point where the Fresh family of Woodstock said, you're wasting our time. We might have to stop this. The woman felt so bad for me because she knew that was my only way to see my boy.
Yeah.
And she I remember her just getting teared
up. But this is part of how these evil creatures actually manipulate the lower court, so that when it hits the upper court, they make it look like what it's not. Yeah. So all they're seeing is they're looking at it that's why these public broadcasts are so important. When the upper courts get it, like the Supreme Court and so on, they're just looking at what they see in writing. Okay, so you have to have a very fierce argument with accuracy and as much detail and as much evidence you can put in that they did not allow, that Mcginty did not allow in the lower court, and he manipulates the court that way. That's what he does. He specifically.
I just felt like he was punishing my lawyer at one point. He said to her, Miss Durst, once again, you failed to show cause, and I don't even know what that means, but I just know that I felt like, wait a second, what did I do wrong? Listen, half of it is these lawyers too, because they're lying to them. But it's like, how do they not know they're not lying, being lied to? You know what I mean?
They set it up before
They're
you.
supposed to look into it. They're supposed to.
So let me ask you a question. Prior to all of this, have you ever had a criminal history? Have you ever had a history of anything? And what has this done to you? Talk about the damages that it's done to you as a mother.
I can't work. I haven't been able to work. I can't get a job. I scored the highest on the civil service test. I was really proud of myself recently. And I went to get a job. And I went to it was for the Kingston City School District. And when I got there, I was so excited. I was like, okay, be prepared, because that false arrest record. And then I said, nope, they're part of the equal opportunity employer, and the local division says arrest record, nothing matters. You did nothing wrong. You haven't even been convicted of anything. I was talking to myself. Sure enough, the woman wouldn't even come out. You know what they said? What? I called and canceled. I said, if I called and canceled, would I be here?
Wow, someone called.
I felt so bad with the reception.
That reminds me there, what you just said right there is what it reminds me with all the other women I've interviewed, is the Saugerties police station are very much deeply steeped in Mcginty somehow with the legislative body. There's something fishy going on with that, because
the legislators listen, Mary, I'm going to say Mary Worrell over and over. She won by 6 votes. She should not win again. This woman is so fake. Oh, she owns a daycare. She uses my daughter's name as a very first person grandchild listed. It was her first grandchild, to be fair, but she literally exploits my daughter every time she's campaigning. There's my daughter in every picture. How is it that I have any chance? But even my criminal court judge, Claudia Andreessen, who I think is wonderful, to be honest. I think she's very fair, wonderful judge, and she deserves to sit where she's sitting. But in the background of her campaign pictures is Mary Worrell.
Okay.
Last year, when he did this to me, and he was served a stay-away order of protection from one of the oldies, Officer Tome at Saugerties Police Department. Now, I want to make something very clear. The oldies, I call them, are the ones that were around when they remember what Josh did to me all these years. They were there for unlawful imprisonment. They were all there. They got to see me. Had no hair ripped out of the sides of my head. They got to see everything. Now, the new ones, like women on Saugerties Police Department, and for some reason, Chief Sinagra has it in for me. Now, he has it in for me because in June of, right before all of this happened, Francesca, in June, I said, you know, on second thought, what are you doing here, Chief Sinagra, in plain clothes at my house? Wow. I said, for a custody dispute. Since when does Saugerties deal with custody disputes? I've called you guys before for my son to pick him up, and you guys say your standard response is call the sheriffs. I follow the law to the letter, but I said, no, you're doing Mary Worrell another favor. I Google your name, and you can clearly see you guys do plenty of work together. Sure enough, I was arrested, a month later, no investigation. They just came to my house, picked me up, told me I was a child abuser.
That's insane. Absolutely insane.
They never came to my house. If they did, they would have had to ask my neighbor, did you hear any of this? With paper-thin walls, the guy burps and I can hear him.
So let me ask you one more question. Let me just ask you, all right, honey, one more question, because I have to wrap up. I have to wrap up this interview, but let me ask you, because I have to go. I'm so sorry, but let me ask you one more question. Two questions. What do you feel that has happened to you emotionally through all of this?
I don't have any more emotion. All I do is I cry every single night of my life. I'm just crippled. I'm crippled as a human. Yeah. And my children are. My children are so sad.
I'm so sorry.
Like, my youngest lost her brother, and he's just numb now, Matthew. Yeah. It's awful. It is awful what's happened to my family. And he was, you know, what happens is when these abusers win, they just put him up on their shelf and they, like a toy, you know, take him down when they need him, break their TVs, rip their doors up their, you know, when they're bad or whatever. They really do abuse them.
Yeah, they really do. They really do.
I mean, my ex was clearly a drug user too. Like, you could clearly see.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Mcginty actually put on the order when he did this to me in 2017. And wait till the audience hears what he did to me recently, but they don't even know. But he literally put on the order, although the father is problematic with a criminal history of convicted domestic violence against women, and convicted criminal and domestic and drug use, etc., he's the more suitable parent. Meanwhile, I have an immaculate, clean background. I have nothing on me whatsoever. I raise the child, provide for the child.
Why is there no standardization?
Because he's hiding evidence. He's not allowing it in the family court, and so when it gets to the upper court, everything he does is hidden, and that's why we're exposing
it. I couldn't even get text messages then.
So let me ask you one more question. Do you feel, after the hell you've been put through, that Anthony Mcginty is mentally sane to be making decisions for families?
No, I think he doesn't care at all. I think he's narcissistic. I think he just doesn't even. I think it's a cattle call for him.
What do you feel about how he feels about women and children?
I've never heard him favor women. Let's just say that.
And Amy Ingram, do you feel that she is healthy and mentally stable to be making decisions for children?
I can't believe she passed the bar. When I found out what she said to my son, I mean, the anger that burns through me, I can't even tell you.
Okay, hold on right there. Okay, so we're going to wrap this video and just keep watching. We have a series that's going to continue, but this is 14 years of women and children being abused at the hands of Anthony Mcginty. Thank you.
Yep.